More than 1,000 people file into its vast interior. But on a stormy Sunday night in July 4 years ago, shortly after the first hymn had been sung, gunmen burst into a side entrance and attacked the congregation with grenades and automatic guns. The scene then was horribly different.
One had his head blown open and blood was oozing out on the carpet from his head wound. Others were mutilatedly shot and were either dying or were dead already. There were about 3 bodies that I stepped over to reach my wife.
11 people were killed and more than 60 wounded. This week, these 3 young men, cadres from the PAC's Azanian People's Liberation Army, APLA, applied for amnesty for what has become known as the St. James Massacre. Basim Kumbusi transported the weapons from the former Transkei for the attack. Tobela Mlambisa drove the car that took the unit to the church, and Klinikaya Makomo entered the church with another APLA member and executed the attack.
As the hand grenades exploded, we took cover behind the doors, re-entered, and while the people inside were screaming, we started to shoot. We shot indiscriminately, and I finished my full R4 magazine, some 31 rounds of ammunition.
All 3 men say they did not know the target was a church until they stopped in the parking lot. They operated on a need-to-know basis, but they were willing to take any order and attack any target because they were soldiers who believed in what the PAC stood for.
So i-APLA yayisilwa.
APLA then was fighting,
iphendula imbumbulu ngembumbulu,
returning a bullet with a bullet,
ikhusela ama-Afrika acinezelwa siyazana,
protecting the Africans in Azania,
sona
and the PAC
sibhizi
was busy
sisebenzisa ezinye i-tactic
using other tactics
ukwenzela ukuthi nina
so that you
bantu abaseburhulumenteni,
people in the government,
nive isijwili
could hear the cries
nesikhalo sabantwana baseyazanini,
of the children of Azania.
ngokuqina kwendlebe zenu ke.
If your ears couldn't listen,
i-APLA yathatha izibhamu
decided to take guns
ukuqoqa indlebe zenu,
to open the ears that were not prepared to listen.
Why was it necessary to attack a church?
As I've said before, as I've said that I didn't know that we were going to attack a church. I didn't know that the target was the church.
I feel
but I felt, as I've said before, the whites were also using churches to oppress the blacks. They took our country using churches and Bibles as we are reading the history. We as the oppressed ones.
Even if you've known that it was a church, you would have attacked the people in the church.
Yes.
If it was a church for black people, and there were only black people, would you have attacked the church then?
No, we couldn't have done that.
If you look at the people sitting in the 2 rows behind me, who were all people who were part of that congregation at St. James that you attacked. Do you not see many people there who are not white people?
I can see them.
How would it assist you to attack them at St. James?
So if there were few black people in there and the majority was white, then there was no reason for us not to attack.
May I address the applicants? May I ask the applicants to turn around and to face me? This is the first opportunity that we've had to look at each other in the eye and talking. I want to ask Mr. Makoma, who actually entered the church, my wife was sitting right at the door when we came in, where you came in. She was wearing a long blue coat. Can you remember if you shot her?
Makoma could not remember, but Dawie Ackerman's direct appeal to the three young men brought to the fore all of the elements that this process is about. A shared guilt, anger, forgiveness, and the raw pain of the sins of the past.
I've never cried over the death of my wife, other than to have silent cries. But I've never had an emotional crying outburst. While Mr. Makoma was testifying, and he talked about his tortures and that he was suicidal, I could identify with that. And I thought to myself, and I wrote you a note to bring your cross-examination to an end. Because what are we doing here? The truth, yes. But I looked at the way in which he answered you, and his anger. How on earth are we going to be reconciled?
We are sorry for what we have done. It was the situation in South Africa. Although people died during that struggle, we didn't do that out of our own will. It's the situation that we're living under. We are asking from you, please do forgive us.
The day after the hearing, we returned to St. James with some of the victims. It was a way of closing the circle which had culminated in the 2 days of wrenching emotion before the Amnesty Committee. The victims had met with the perpetrators behind closed doors the previous evening.
Whoever the guy was that shot me, I have forgiven him unconditionally. But I always said that I would like to meet him and look him in the eye and actually have a chat with him. And yesterday I had the opportunity to do that, and it was a wonderful experience for me. We could forgive each other.
I was sitting facing the doors where they would be coming through, and I was fearing that when they come through the door, when the door opens, that I'll be seeing 3 killers. And I had to pray very hard. And I'm happy to say now that when the doors opened, I was able to see 3 young men that I have love for, that I have concern for.
The thing that struck me was so much was that at the age at which that this incident took place, I was 17 years old. And I could relate to that because I was a conscript at 18 years old in the Air Force. I was sent to Cyprus in defence of the realm, if you like, and I could see the difference between myself and them was that I was perhaps under a much more controlled military order, and this incident wouldn't have happened, I don't believe. But in their case, their command structure was very weak, very loose, and they had the normal human ability to kill. As I had, they had to.
I've been thinking all along about their mothers. It must have been very hard for their mothers, to have children that have gone maybe a way that they didn't want them to go, and maybe have pleaded with them, but there were forces drawing them in. And my heart goes out to the mothers and the parents or concerned family. Maybe they were family that supported them, I don't know. But I'm a mother too, and I just feel for the parents.
As imperfect as human attempts are to bring people together, it was nevertheless an attempt, and for me it was a very significant moment. I feel that also that I can now carry on with my life. For the first time yesterday, after the meetings with them too in the boardroom, I felt a release that I had not felt before. There's something has lifted from my heart.
I thought about it last night. Will I ever see them again? And will we be able to be friends?
But it's something that can't be understood if you're not part of the TRC process. And having gone through that, I can understand why it is necessary to bring about healing in the land.
All we want to say is that while many people have exercised forgiveness, and we honor them for that, we feel that there's a special obligation for Christians to forgive. And it's on that basis that we extend the hand of reconciliation and friendship.
Everybody's been asking us how we feel, our experiences and how we feel now, but I was wondering, I haven't heard anything from them themselves, the perpetrators. I just wonder how they feel. I want to know what they think of everything. What do they feel about us forgiving them?
We did try to speak to the three applicants, and they have undertaken to do so this coming week. We will ask them the questions that Liesel wanted answers to. Letlapa Mpatlele, APLA's Director of Operations, was the one man everyone expected to see at this week's amnesty hearing for the St. James massacre. He has applied for amnesty for the massacre, but no one knew why he did not arrive for the hearing. Even the PAC could not explain where he was. His testimony was crucial, as he has taken public responsibility for the killings. Mpatlele explained this to the Special Report in an interview a few months ago.
We are proud of what we did. We harbor no regret. And it's unfortunate that people had to die. But it's not something that we are ashamed of, that we did go to war. War is by its very nature evil. And if there was another method to avoid it, we would have avoided it. So we are not going to have difficulties in owning up robberies. We are not going to have difficulties, or personally I'm not having difficulties in owning up St. James, King Williamstown Golf Club attack, attacks on farms, etc.